It was just another rainy night in Chicago when Jason Miller saw her, a woman soaked to the bone, her scrubs clinging to her shivering frame. She wasn't just crying, she was breaking, and when he stepped closer, he had no idea this moment would change both their lives forever. Her name was Sarah Bennett, a nurse who'd just lost her apartment, her savings, even the last photo of her late mother. All she had left? The stethoscope around her neck and the desperate hope that someone, anyone, would see her pain. What happens when a man with his own shattered past reaches out? When two broken souls collide in the storm? This is not just another sob story. This is about the night hope fought back. The stranger in the storm. The rain fell in relentless sheets over Chicago, turning the streets into shimmering black mirrors under the dim glow of the streetlights. Jason Miller tightened his grip on the steering wheel of his old Ford pickup, the wipers struggling to keep up with the downpour. His knuckles were white, not just from the cold, but from the voicemail that had just played through his cracked phone speaker. "You can't keep avoiding the custody hearing, Jay." His sister's voice had been firm, edged with worry. "If you don't show up this time, the judge will side with Melissa. You'll lose Liam for good." Jason exhaled sharply, his breath fogging the windshield. He wasn't ready to face the courtroom again, not when every visit felt like another punch to the gut. Instead, he pulled into a rundown gas station off I-90, the neon sign flickering like a dying heartbeat. Just get gas. Keep moving. Don't think. That's when he heard it. A sound so soft it almost disappeared beneath the drumming rain. A whimper. Jason turned his head, squinting through the water-streaked window. Under the flickering overhang of the gas station's roof, a woman sat hunched on the curb, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. She wasn't just wet. She was drenched, her blue scrubs clinging to her skin, her dark hair plastered to her face. But it wasn't the rain that made her shoulders shake. She was crying. Jason hesitated. He wasn't the type to get involved. Life had taught him that lesson hard. But something about the way she curled in on herself, like she was trying to disappear, made his chest tighten. Before he could second-guess himself, he killed the engine and stepped out into the storm. The woman didn't look up as he approached, even when his shadow fell over her. "Hey," Jason said, his voice rough. "You okay?" A stupid question. Of course she wasn't. The woman lifted her head slowly, her eyes red-rimmed and hollow. Up close, she was younger than he'd thought, maybe late 20s. Her name tag, half peeled from her scrubs, read Sarah B., and beneath it, the logo of St. Mary's Hospital. A nurse. She let out a shaky laugh, wiping her face with the back of her hand. "Do I look okay?" Jason shoved his hands into his pockets, suddenly unsure. "You need a ride, or—" "I need a lot of things," she muttered, her gaze dropping to the backpack at her feet. The fabric was soaked through, the zipper barely holding shut. "But right now, I just need this rain to stop." A clap of thunder boomed overhead, as if the sky was laughing at her. Sarah flinched so hard she knocked her bag over, sending its contents spilling onto the wet pavement. Jason crouched to help, but froze when he saw what had fallen out. A small, framed photo. The glass was cracked, but the image was clear. A woman in a nurse's uniform, her smile warm and familiar. Sarah snatched it up, her fingers trembling as she wiped the mud from the surface. "Mom," she whispered. Jason's throat tightened. He didn't know this woman, didn't know her story, but he knew loss. He saw it in the way she cradled that photo like it was the last thing keeping her grounded. Without thinking, he reached out. "Come on." Sarah blinked up at him. "What?" "My truck's right there," he said, nodding toward it. "You're going to freeze out here." For a long moment, she just stared at him, like she was waiting for the catch. Then, slowly, she nodded. Jason helped her gather her things. A spare set of scrubs, a wallet with a waterlogged ID, a stethoscope tangled in the straps of her bag. Sarah clutched the photo to her chest as she followed him to the truck, her movements stiff with cold. He cranked the heat as soon as they were inside, the blast of warm air making Sarah shiver violently. Jason kept his eyes on the road, giving her space. But as he pulled back onto the highway, the radio crackled to life with a news update. Apartment fire in Lincoln Park earlier this evening. Firefighters contained the blaze, but the building suffered significant damage. No fatalities reported, but residents lost all belongings. Sarah made a sound like she'd been punched. Jason glanced over. Her face had gone pale, her fingers digging into the edge of the seat. That was your place?" he asked quietly. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The pieces clicked together. The soaked backpack, the lack of a coat, the way she'd looked at that photo like it was all she had left. Jason's hands tightened on the wheel. This woman hadn't just been caught in the rain. She'd lost everything. What was left behind? The hum of the truck's heater filled the silence as Jason navigated the slick streets toward his apartment. Sarah sat stiffly in the passenger seat, her fingers tracing the cracked edges of the photo frame in her lap. The rain had slowed to a drizzle, but the weight in the cab hadn't lifted. "You don't have to do this," Sarah said suddenly, her voice raw. "I can find a shelter. Or—" "Just until morning," Jason interrupted, signaling a turn. He didn't look at her. No strings. She exhaled, her breath fogging the window as she leaned her head against the glass. The city lights blurred past, streaks of gold against the dark. Jason's apartment complex loomed ahead, a weathered brick building with flickering exterior lights. He parked near the stairs, killed the engine, and hesitated. "It's not much," he warned. Sarah just nodded, clutching her backpack like a lifeline. The stairs creaked under their weight as they climbed to the second floor. Jason fumbled with his keys, acutely aware of Sarah shivering behind him. When the door swung open, the familiar scent of old coffee and laundry detergent greeted them, along with the sound of small, rapid footsteps. "Daddy!" Liam, all 6 years of him, came barreling down the hallway in dinosaur pajamas, his brown hair sticking up in every direction. He skidded to a stop when he saw Sarah, his big eyes widening. Jason scooped him up with one arm, heart pounding. This wasn't part of the plan. "Hey, bud, what are you doing up?" "Miss Jenny fell asleep during the movie," Liam announced, pointing to the babysitter snoring on the couch. Then, whispering loudly, "Who's that?" Sarah offered a tentative smile. "I'm Sarah." Liam studied her with the brutal honesty of children. "Your hair's wet." Jason winced, but Sarah laughed, a real startled sound that made Liam grin. "Yeah," she admitted, "I got caught in the rain. Like the time Daddy forgot my umbrella at school?" "Exactly like that." Jason set Liam down, ruffling his hair. "All right, monster, bedtime. Say goodnight." Liam waved at Sarah before darting back down the hall. Jason exhaled, turning to face her. "Sorry, I didn't know he'd be—" "It's fine," Sarah said softly. Her gaze lingered on the family photos lining the wall. Jason holding a newborn Liam, a woman with the same honey-blonde hair as the boy smiling beside them. A happier time. Jason cleared his throat. "Couch is yours. Bathroom's down the hall if you want a shower, or—" He trailed off as Sarah swayed on her feet. "You okay?" She blinked hard. "Just tired." But as she took a step forward, her knees buckled. Jason caught her elbow. Her skin was burning. "Jesus, you're freezing." Sarah tried to pull away. "I'm a nurse. I know when—" "Yeah, then you know hypothermia when you feel it." He guided her to the couch, grabbing the afghan his mom had knitted years ago. "Sit. I'll get tea." In the kitchen, Jason boiled water with shaking hands. He could hear Liam singing to himself in the other room, the babysitter's soft snores, the drip of Sarah's clothes onto his floor. This was a mistake. He had enough on his plate without playing hero to a stranger. But when he returned with the steaming mug, Sarah was staring at Liam's drawing on the coffee table, a stick-figure family with 3 smiling people. "Your son's sweet," she murmured. Jason stiffened. His mom's got him most weekends. He didn't add unless she gets full custody next week. Sarah wrapped her hands around the mug, the heat bringing color back to her fingertips. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then, I was on shift when the fire started. Her voice was barely above a whisper. By the time I got there, she swallowed hard. 12 years of savings, my mom's recipes, everything. Jason sat beside her, the old couch springs groaning. Insurance? Sarah laughed bitterly. Slumlords don't do insurance. A crash from Liam's room made them both jump. Jason stood, but Sarah was already moving, her nurse's instincts overriding her exhaustion. She reached the doorway just as Liam started coughing, great, wheezing gasps that turned his face red. Asthma? Sarah dropped to her knees beside the bed, one hand on Liam's back. Jason nodded, frozen in the doorway. Inhalers in the... Sarah was already pulling it from the nightstand, guiding it to Liam's lips with practiced ease. Breathe, buddy. Slow and steady. Liam's panicked eyes found hers. He inhaled shakily, the medication working its magic. Within minutes, his breathing evened out. Jason's knees nearly gave way. He hadn't felt fear like that since the night Melissa left. Sarah smoothed Liam's hair back, her voice calm. All better? Liam nodded, sniffling. You're like a doctor. Close enough. She tucked him back in, adjusting the dinosaur sheets with a tenderness that made Jason's chest ache. He didn't realize he was staring until she turned and caught his eye. In that moment, something unspoken passed between them, an understanding forged in the chaos of the night. Then the front door slammed open. Jason, we need to... Melissa's voice cut off as she took in the scene, the soaked stranger in scrubs, her hand still on Liam's forehead. The color drained from her face. Who the hell is this? Sarah stood slowly, wiping her palms on her scrubs. Jason stepped forward, but Melissa was already storming toward them, her designer heels clicking against the hardwood. You let some nurse near our son? She hissed. Are you trying to lose custody? Liam whimpered under the covers. Sarah's jaw tightened, and Jason saw red. The way back. Melissa's perfume, something expensive and floral, filled the cramped apartment as she stepped closer, her manicured finger jabbing toward Sarah. You have 5 seconds to explain why a stranger is touching my son. Jason moved between them, his pulse roaring in his ears. She helped him. Liam was having an attack. And you couldn't handle it yourself? Melissa's laugh was sharp enough to cut glass. She turned to Sarah, eyes narrowing. Let me guess. Another one of Jason's lost causes? Sarah's hands curled into fists at her sides, but her voice stayed steady. I was leaving anyway. She grabbed her soggy backpack, avoiding Liam's wide-eyed stare from the bed. Jason caught her arm. Wait. The touch lasted half a second before Sarah pulled away. Your son needs calm right now, she murmured, low enough that only he could hear. Not this. Melissa scoffed, scrolling through her phone. I'm calling my lawyer. This violates our agreement. Liam's small voice cracked through the tension. Mommy, stop. Sarah fixed my breathing. The room went still. Melissa's thumb hovered over her screen. Jason watched the war play out on her face. Anger battling against the undeniable truth that a stranger had just saved their child. Sarah took the opening. She knelt by Liam's bed, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. You're a brave kid, you know that. Next time, remember, slow breaths win the race. She pressed something into his hand, her stethoscope, the metal still warm from her neck. Then she walked out without looking back. Jason didn't realize he'd followed until the night air hit his face. Sarah was already at the stairwell, her silhouette haloed by a flickering overhead light. Sarah! She turned, rain catching in her lashes. You've got enough problems. Yeah, well, Jason shoved his hands in his pockets, the concrete cold under his bare feet. Turns out I'm good at collecting those. A beat passed. Somewhere below, a car alarm wailed. Sarah exhaled hard. That fire wasn't an accident. Jason froze. What? My landlord's been trying to empty the building for months. Wants to sell to developers. She rubbed her arms, her scrubs still damp. I came home early once and heard him on the phone. Something about cleaning out the roaches. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. Jason's construction crew had worked a demo job last year. Same shady tactics, different neighborhood. You report it? To who? Sarah's laugh was hollow. The cops who take his donations? The fire marshal who called it faulty wiring in under an hour? Lightning flashed, illuminating the determination on Jason's face. I know people who can help. Sarah studied him, the stubborn set of his jaw, the way he'd chased after her in socks. For the first time since the gas station, something like hope flickered in her eyes. 1 week later, the local news played on the diner's greasy TV. Arrest made in suspected arson case. Tenants to receive settlement. Sarah spun her coffee cup, the steam curling toward the ceiling. Across the booth, Liam colored furiously on a placemat while Jason scrolled through his phone. Got the email from my lawyer, he said quietly. Melissa's dropping the custody stuff. Sarah's brows lifted. How? Turns out saving your kid's life looks good in family court. His smirk faded. And maybe I finally proved I'm not the screw-up she thinks I am. Liam slid his masterpiece across the table. A crayon explosion of 3 stick figures holding hands under a rainbow. That's you, Sarah, he announced, pointing to the smallest one. Jason's throat tightened. He'd spent years building walls, brick by brick. But this woman, this fierce, broken, miraculous woman, had walked through them like they were nothing. Sarah touched the edge of the drawing, her voice thick. It's perfect. Outside, the rain had stopped. Sunlight glinted off puddles in the parking lot. Jason reached across the table, his calloused fingers brushing hers. Stay, he said. Simple, certain. And for the first time in a long time, Sarah let herself believe it was possible. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone see the storm inside you. If this story reminded you that hope finds us in unexpected places, hit like and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe. More heartwarming journeys are coming. Until then, keep looking for the helpers. They're out there.